Welcome back to AI Diatribe, where this episode serves as part 2 of a fascinating conversation with Matt Conweiser of IBM and Alex Hurtado of Anvil-Logic. We left off as we were about to discuss exactly how AI is unique in providing utility. Let's dive back in. This AI seems to be a different kind of tool where we can use AI to critique AI and to make sure that we're not relying on AI too much. Agree or disagree, Matt?
So, I do fully agree with that. I think that there's a lot of really strong applications for it. And I'll give you a great example. It's not so much a critical thinking thing, except for the fact that I had this massive spreadsheet I was working on, and it was lots of rows and columns and lots of data. And I needed to transpose it in 5 different ways at once. And there's a lot of different transposition tools you can use in Excel and in other database applications. But I was like, you know what? Why? So I went to Copilot and I said, can you interpret this file? And it said, yes, I understand the structure. I understand the contents of it. I said, well, this is what I need it to become. Can you do that for me? And it said, sure. And it produced something absolutely horrible, steaming pile of BS. And that is bullshit. Once again, just to be clear.
So much French. So much French.
So much French. But after I worked with it a little bit and I applied my critical thinking skills to how it was trying to process the information, we were able to meet in the middle. But then I did something that I do every time, and this is a free tip. I said, now generate a markdown document for me that would instruct you how to do this again. So I get the same output from the same general base input, and we don't have to go through all these steps a second time. So it gives me a file. And now if I ever need to do it again, I can go into another instance. I can upload the file that it produced and the raw data from Excel and say, follow these instructions on that raw material, and it will give me what I need every other time. So you apply critical thinking 5 different ways there. How can I use the tools to make my life, my job more effective? How do I position the LLM to see the data the way I want to see it? And then how do I make it repeatable? Those are all critical thinking steps that a human has to take to interact with an AI. So that's a quick example. It's not terribly glamorous because it's Excel. I mean, who the hell wants to talk about Excel on a podcast? But there we go. But I think it's something that people can latch onto, especially in business, right? Because everybody has to work with data sheets or Excel sheets for something at some point in their career. And AI happens to be a great tool to work with the information as long as you use your noggin while you're doing it.
Alex,
Well,
would you agree
since
with him?
yeah, I would. And since we're sharing tips, I have been using it as a way to augment me, extend myself, and think about myself almost like more of the architect of the core of my work, and not have to think about these little minute tasks on the day to day, right? So, for example, I have and I think you can only have this if you have an enterprise license of ChatGPT. So that's the disclaimer. But I have a couple different custom ChatGPTs that I have. That are basically my little worker bees that help extend me, right? Me as Alex. One that creates my threat reports in my voice, the tone that I've told it to, and one that also helps me kind of with copywriting assistance. And there is absolutely no way, especially as the AI SOC vendor landscape is evolving, that I can physically keep track of quite literally everything, right? There's so many different SIM deployment models out there. You can have literally a headless SIM. You can have a SIM without, like, with abstracted storage. You can have a SIM with a monolithic storage. You can have a SIM you can have 2 different SIMs. I call it the 2-headed SIM monster. And there's no way I can keep track of all those, right? So, and also there's no way I can keep track of all of the conversations that happen on LinkedIn about it, because I learn a lot of my content on LinkedIn. And so what I do is you can create a custom GPT, give it, pretty particular set of instructions, right? You are a marketing content creator. You've got a sharp eye. You want to be sane. You want to be deeply rooted in technical truth. And I want you to write like a human. Stay professional, stay casual. Don't use any M dashes, right? Because that's a very telltale sign that somebody used ChatGPT.
Not
And
anymore. Not anymore.
why? Because now people are taking them out.
You will know the new GPT doesn't use them anymore, or you can instruct it not to use them anymore.
um, and use these instructions on this knowledge like only this knowledge dictionary and knowledge source, right? I've uploaded a bunch of text files with pasted brain dumps of everything as it relates to the industry. Sim maturity, uh, Rocky DiStefano, he's a CISO at Bank of America. He gave me like his brain dump, 25 years working in sim, right? What sim means in cloud security, what sim means with around insider threat, right? What sim means in Google Cloud, right? All of these files and basically anything that I ask it to do, anything I'm trying to write about, it only uses this corpus of sim like the sim world. This is the sim universe that I've curated and I've tailored and I've customized, and that way it's really thinking really thoroughly about this context, and it just expanded everything that I can do times 10. Because there's no way I have the shortest memory ever. I have the memory of a goldfish, which is great to have as a partner, as like a girlfriend, but not when it comes to when you have to yip yap all day. So that's what I do. And if anybody wants like a little tutorial on it, I'd be happy to share my exact instructions for ChatGPT so that it doesn't sound like you're marketing like everybody else, like using all these buzzwords, but actually, very, very clever, very AI sober, I've been calling it.
Interesting. So this is very much in line with the critical thinking skill that we've been talking about is so necessary. I would be curious to hear from Alex, Matt, because we've talked about this a few times in the past. What other skills do you think help keep cybersecurity analysts irreplaceable? What are these skills that these analysts need to develop? What are the types of things that they need to do to make sure that they're doing their job correctly? I would very much like to hear those skills out of your mouth and compare those to a lot of the skills that Matt and I have curated over the course of multiple episodes of AI Diatribe and some of these other conversations we've had. So give us your insights. What are these valuable skills?
Ooh, I gotta think about that. So how skills to avoid getting automated out of a job, maybe?
Or at least that are going to help you maintain relevance in the face of, great permutation of automation within the professional world.
Well, definitely critical thinking and just reading a diverse range of books, all the way from like the craft of what you're doing, like in cybersecurity, of course, your certifications. Although I've been reading that certifications are actually BS now. I don't have that opinion, but I think you
So for
should
those that are
brush.
listening, and I'll be the one to assert it this time, that means bullshit. Just saying so. Okay. All right. Please continue.
I think you should do keep those CPE credits up, keep the CISSPs and PCs or whatever. Definitely those, but also the art of communication. I don't think anyone will. It's a hard a skill to teach, but I don't think anyone will ever know what you're doing unless you know how to communicate it well and communicating it upward too. There's an art of communicating a very technical craft to somebody that gives a shit, right? And or putting it in a way for people to care. And that is really it took me a really long time to do that because I've always got lost in the sauce and I got really excited about uh really really niche things that somebody maybe at the senior level is not going to be excited about, and they're going to care about the monetary side of things, the metrics side of things, how it aligns to their initiatives. And that's really how you have to frame things. And I think that if you really can master that skill in cybersecurity, you're going to be very well off for yourself and like staying and adapting to new technologies. uh, I think tool churn is just as high as people churn. The tools are gonna switch in left and right, and the more you bitch about it, it's like what's that gonna help with? Just take it on and just learn it, and that can just add more skills to the resume.
So I have a question for you on that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just thought of it, so I'm gonna poke.
What?
How do you feel like generative AI applied in cybersecurity is going to change the mindset or the role of CISOs?
Well, that got me distracted. Remember when Facebook used to poke people?
I
Well,
apologize. I shouldn't have said poke.
You're not that old, Alex. You can't be that
Instigate,
old.
provocate.
I used to poke. That used to be the way that you told somebody you had a crush on them. Yeah. Okay. So
I guess I'm too old for that. I don't remember
yeah.
that.
You don't remember the Facebook poke?
I don't remember what it meant. I just remember that there was the option and I never did it. I never know what it actually meant. Is that like that was like the swipe left or swipe right or what direction you're supposed to swipe? I don't whatever it is.
Right. That would be the right
Right
one.
is good. Yes.
Right. Right
Left
is
Right is
good.
bad.
good.
Right
Left
is
is
right.
reject. Right is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. So I guess poke was the old swipe right then? Is that what
It
I'm hearing?
was. It
In a
was.
sense, yeah.
God.
It was.
Anyway.
Okay, so Gen AI and the impact on CISOs. I host a podcast that really showcases the love of practitioners and detection engineers, and I have an opposing view to what a CISO would want. I think a CISO is going to see it as an opportunity to replace headcount. And I don't see it that way. I don't think anyone should be replaced. I don't think anyone we should be thinking about AI replacing analysts. I think that your best agent is still, like, if we think about agentic AI, is still your team, right? They know why a certain rule was turned off 6 years ago because so and so has left the company by then. Like, there's no AI that's going to know those kind of things. There's AI is not sitting at the Four Seasons, right, drinking with the team, talking about all of this industry knowledge, and that you just don't talk about in the day-to-day SOC, right? They don't have these relationships, this experience, this connection, and
So what you're really getting at here is tribal knowledge. There's not an easy way
tribal,
for
yes.
AI to really get into and learn all of this tribal knowledge endemic to certain environments.
Yeah, but when is a CISO going to be enticed by that? A CISO is going to want to see how he can reduce his infrastructure, cost.
Well, that could be one way. The other thing I was thinking about, though, and here's a slightly more uplifting angle than, perhaps the more real version that you have. A lot of the CISOs that I've worked with were very focused on compliance, right? Check
Okay.
the boxes. Here's the list of stuff I need to do, and here's the systems that need to do it, and am I checking all the boxes? So if we could look at it as, yes, they could eliminate headcount to be able to check all those boxes. But I guess the other perspective could be, and I don't have an answer. You're more of an expert than I am in the security space at this point. So do you think CISOs will use that as an opportunity to say, where else can we grow the program creatively, critically, now that we can have an AI do the compliance stuff? Or do you think they're just going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm good. I just have to press the button. I got my compliance reports done. I can run my quarterly audit. So I don't really need to do anything else.
They should be thinking about it. Like, how can they reinvest any savings they do get back into the program? That's exactly how they should be thinking about it. Will they? A forward-thinking one. Matt, actually, I used to think that you were going to be a CISO one day.
I mean, once I
Wow.
saw the spreadsheets they have to deal with, I was like, no, there's no way. I just,
But see, you would be the kind of person that would want to reinvest, all those hours and money saved back into, I don't know, taking the team to Epcot or something, or Star Wars World.
That I would do.
Interesting.
That
This
I
is
actually
really
would do.
interesting because this conversation kind of dovetails nicely into something that we said that we were going to cover during this podcast episode, which is our P-Doom scores. So for those of you that are listening that are not familiar with the P-Doom score, P is a function mathematically that has to refer to probability. And so the P-Doom score is expressed in the form of P open parentheses, doom close parentheses. In other words, what is the probability that AI is going to lead to the doom of humanity? Oh, so I think it would be a good exercise for us to go ahead and let's start out with you, Alex. Matt, let's have you follow up, and then I'll bring us home. What are our individual P-doom scores as it relates to how AI is going to lead to the destruction and the doom of humanity as a whole? So, Alex, let's start out with a, dare I say, pragmatic or maybe even pessimistic perspective. I mean, I have heard that you might have a pessimistic score. Alex, tell us what your P-doom score is and why.
So my PDOOM score is on the higher side, higher than the average person, actually higher than most people.
What does that mean? Give us a percentage.
It's been a while since I looked at my percentage, but it was in the 800s.
So 80%.
800s? Yeah. There's a whole calculation you can take, by the way. Probably somebody created it and vibe coded it. That you just plug in how likely. It's like a quiz, like one of those little magazine quizzes you used to take. How likely you think these AGI is going to take over? I personally think that they will, but it will take over, but they're going to be smart enough to know that we still have to run their massive server farms. So they're going to play nice for a while. Probably within the next 50 years, it's going to be it's gonna be like an 80-20. Everything's going to be mostly run by AGI in the next 20 years. I'm telling you, it's high. People think I'm crazy, but you'll see. What do you think?
I think that you literally just cited the basis of the movie The Matrix.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not going to have spider bots.
We all just become
all
batteries
the
for the machines. Because yes, they know they need us, but they realize that they could literally just keep us drugged up in a dream state and sitting in a tank of goo until we die and then recycle our bodies.
And how do we know that's not happening now?
I mean, well, no, actually, that was just proven. That was just proven that it's not happening. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
I was going to write about this on LinkedIn over the weekend. There was they ran a mathematical proof that demonstrated that it would be impossible for us to be living in a simulation.
Okay.
So this is not the Matrix. Validated.
Yet.
That's
Follow
great.
my LinkedIn to read more about that. So my PDOOM is right at 50%.
Wow.
And I will explain why. And it was the most perfect example of why I'm at 50%. And it just happened. So Mustafa Suleiman just posted something about artificial superintelligence. And he said it was the question was not whether we're going to build it. It is why we're going to build it, and whether it's going, for example, is it going to be built for the good of humanity and everything else? And I responded to that, and I said the question I have, which I think is the one that's more important, is: are the people and the companies who are racing to build it, do they feel the same way you do? That's what I'm worried about. And that's why I put it right at 50%. I think we will have a singularity. I think we will have pervasive AGI. And the PDOOM score can go either way based on whether we're following Mustafa's point, which is it needs to be built for the good of humankind and to serve humans, not Twilight Zone to serve humans, but actually to serve humans in like servant to servitude. But are the people that are building it doing so with the best intentions instead of capitalism and race to be first and damn the resources being consumed? We just have to put it out there.
I gotta ask, is this with you knowing about the AI 2027 report, or is this without you knowing about the AI 2027 report? Like the collective research from like the previous OpenAI researchers that like left, the Sam Altman, and they put together this study. It's like a month by month forecast.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know the report.
And you still think this?
I still think it.
50%?
I'm still at 50%. Again, it's not whether we'll have it, it's whether it will take over.
Okay.
Right. So like we're going to have to coexist with it. Right. So to me, that doesn't affect the PDOOM score. What affects the PDOOM score is what happens when it comes out. What does it do to humans? How do humans interact with it? And do we just all go to shit, to use the technical term, speaking French?
Yes, a lot of French today.
Or is it symbiotic, right? Is it Borg and Terminator, or is it, the positive side of Star Trek, where there's AI everywhere, all over all the ships, but the computers are not taking over for humans. Humans are still doing all the critical work, all the thinking, all the decision making, but they wouldn't be able to fly on those giant spaceships without the AI
Mm,
behind them. And the AI is very much conscious and sentient, but
yeah.
there's a coexistence. There's a peaceful coexistence that doesn't cross a boundary. So if we can get there, I'm on the low side of the PDOOM 50%. If we have capitalists building for the sake of building and destroying natural resources and consuming all of our data centers to do it, we will end up on the high side of the PDOM score. Right now, we're
That's where I'm at.
still we're still on the fulcrum. For me, I'm still balanced right evenly.
Okay. Are you gonna break this then? Are you gonna be low?
He actually is low.
Well, I am low. Yes, I am low. I'm about as LOWE low as you can possibly get. But I'm so low that they call me J Lo. But okay, so you're high, Alex.
I'm really high.
You're teetering like here. Okay, I think it's very important to call out that there are certain people like you know Elon Musk that tends to put his PDUM score at about 20%. And yet there are others like Geoffrey Hinton that are much higher than that. Geoffrey Hinton being one of the godfathers of AI. I personally, I have to admit, I'm very much on the 50-50 fence because you look at the different scenarios that are out there. Hollywood has it so interestingly portrayed in so many ways. I mean, do we want to be people running around in like these carts, like in Wall-E, where AI is basically taking care of us and we can become as large and in charge as we want to be and eat and drink everything that we're going to do, and AI is going to keep us alive? Who knows? Could Wall-E be that depiction of how AI handles human beings? Could that be possible? I suppose. Could we be dealing with something a little bit less, um, shall we say, optimistic, like a Skynet? Yes. Could we? Yes. Could we be dealing with a HAL 9000 who is going to go ahead and do what it wants to do because it doesn't trust human beings are going to be able to make the right decisions? Yeah, that's possible. Is Ultron going to take over the world or try and take over the world? Yes, that is very possible. Is Agent Smith going to be there and, really kind of ruin everything for us in the Matrix portrayal of things? Yes, that's very possible. But I do. I think it's a little bit of a 50-50. We're just as possible to hit the movie Her, where AI is going to
Be your
accelerate
girlfriend?
and be our girlfriend. But I think for those that have not watched the movie Her, I don't necessarily want to spoil it, but I think it's very important to point out that in the movie Her, AI evolves and AI evolves above and beyond the capabilities of human beings. And it's really interesting because the movie depicts this concept of AI thinking that human beings move about as quickly as plants do, which is, to us, we are moving around at the speed of humans as quickly as we can, but to AI, it's going to be like watching plants grow. And so this is kind of how Her depicts it, like, the main operating system, it's just waiting around so long for human beings to actually finally respond and to, inject some sort of value in the conversation. And then AI evolves and they end up going somewhere else and doing something else.
I've got a question for you both. Do you think it matches or it has exceeded the Industrial Revolution? Can it even be compared?
There is no comparison to what AI is going to do. The Industrial Revolution, I'm sorry, but that's morons. To quote The Princess Bride,
But
I think,
at the time, that
oh,
was like
yes.
insane.
No, it was absolutely insane. And what it is that we are facing, at least as far as AI and how it's going to change the world and what is going to happen to the world as a result of AI, this is the whole socioeconomic episode, Matt, that we have been talking about recording that we just simply have not recorded yet. The impact that AI is going to have on the world cannot be measured, nor can it be correctly portrayed. People that have any idea, if people had any idea of what it is that's coming, the world would be a very much different place. There is a dearth of people that have their head in the sand and a dearth of people that simply aren't thinking through what the impact is that AI is going to have on the world, for good or for ill. Is it going to tip the good way or is it going to tip the bad way? We don't know. It's too soon. It's too soon. But the impact is going to be ridiculously astronomical either way. And the next 10 years are the next 5 years, the next 4 years. I don't know. What's your over under, Matt? For me, it's probably 5 to 10 years, where everything that happens in the next 5 to 10 years is going to far outstrip everything from the discovery of fire to now. That's just my opinion.
I think if you start looking at 5-year intervals starting at 2022, you will see significant jumps. If you go backwards, you'll see wider timescales of evolution. And if you go forward, you'll see narrower timescales of evolution. And I think there was this meme going around where you could ask Google or whatever it is, was 1995 30 years ago? And it would say no, and then it would say yes. And if you ask it why it said no, it would say, because I was looking at the evolution of fashion and music and art and culture and everything else in the past interval from 1995 to present, and it didn't seem like it could possibly be 30 years ago. But then when I did the math, I realized it was. And I thought about this, and I thought, okay, in 1995, if you asked if 1965 was 30 years ago, it would probably shoot from the hip and say yes, because if you look at what has evolved from 65 to 95, it's tremendous compared to 95 to 2025. But I think now 2025 to 2030 is going to seem like the same time aperture as 2025 to 1995, from a technology, from a society, from a culture, all of this.
Moore's law cannot be applied in this case then.
No, but you have not only
Yeah.
Moore's law, but you also have Jevons paradox, which says, the more efficient you get with the use of something, then the more consumers you'll get to fill in the void. And I think that's going to become a bigger tell of where this is going to go. And it's already become that, right? Because as soon as things like generative AI, GPT became a consumer product, Gemini launched and Claude launched and Llama launched, everything else launched. Now everybody's using generative AI for everything. Most of them don't have to.
Well, George Kurtz, CEO of CrowdStrike, we recently had a conversation about this, 4 Seasons, RSA this year, and the way he thought about it, his PDoom score is right there with y'all. It's pretty low, and even lower than 50%. And he did, I guess it's reassuring that it's true. It's also a sober way of looking at it, that it will move at the rate as compute processing moves. And, but if we look at the AI 2027 study, right now in 2025, I think it was in August, the Open Brain, largest data center in the world, are taking these kind of gauge measurements at how fast compute is moving and the processing its AI. And in August, it was thinking at 10x human speed, right? And with its careful forecasts, it thinks that by the whole point of the whole study is that by 2027, I think April, it goes all the way until April, it's going to be thinking at 32x human speed. And if somebody's thinking at 32x human speed by 2027, it's already taken over. It's already taking over. Compute is moving fast. Every year we get advances in compute.
I think Jevons paradox and Moore's law, and even the things that are exhibited in the AI 2027 report, all indicate something, and that is that human beings simply do not have the perspective to really understand the rate and rapidity at which these things are going to happen. And that phenomenon is called exponential slope blindness. And that is some sort of a way to try and term that there's no way for human beings to understand how quickly things can evolve and how quickly things can change in the face of this technological advancement. Does that affect our PDoom score? Well, if you think about it in practical terms, if you were an AI entity that suddenly was able to process things so much faster than human beings and think circles around human beings and start approaching this limit of artificial superintelligence, would ASI look at human beings the same way that we look at Neanderthals? That's the question. Now, Geoffrey Hinton feels that recently he hit on something that's going to make it so that we actually can coexist peacefully with ASI and AGI. And that is that we have to, as we're constructing these tools and as we're starting to train this thing that's going to eventually become AGI and possibly artificial superintelligence, is that we need to build into it a maternal instinct. We need to make it so that AI looks at human beings as these wonderful little children that it needs to take care of for the rest of its existence.
My
Thoughts?
heart. I mean, have you met any women ever? They're non-malicious whatsoever, especially when thinking about her child. They'll do anything to protect that child, and that is absolutely the best way we should be modeling it. I've never heard
Yeah,
that before.
but Alex, a quick note. Being in a Latin household myself, if you have a robot like what's coming out next year with that motherly, intelligent design, and you give it a chancla, you are in such deep shit.
Okay, hold on. So let's define for the listener that
The
doesn't
second
know.
you do something stupid,
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, okay. So come on. For
An
the
AI-powered
perspective of
chancla.
those that don't know, can you please define what a chancla is?
Can come in a chancla can come in many forms. It can come in the form of a Nike slip-on, Kanye West Yeezy slip-on nowadays.
Havaianas.
By Havaianas, a flip-flop. So one time I got an actual shoe because there was no chancla near the vicinity. But honestly, any object within that she sees, right? Like a hanger, her broom, it can be a chancla, to be honest.
Corporal punishment, I think, is the old-fashioned term for that. But so I think that the problem is when you try and imbue a machine with a human emotion or a human concept like, motherly protection,
Yeah.
you will get everything that comes with that. The other example I'll give you is a dog.
Mm,
Now, when a dog thinks it's the alpha, it can bark and growl at strangers at the door. It can keep you from going places. It can wander the whole house at night. It can growl and bark at absolutely everything it sees because everything is a potential concern. Whereas if you assert yourself as the alpha, then the dog will be subservient and it will just sit quietly on the bed and be petted and go for walks and keep your feet warm. So you have to be really careful with how a system might interpret what you're asking it to do in that context, or you will end up with something, Jason, that you had already referenced is HAL. HAL 9000 was not evil. It
mm.
was not a murderer.
It was altruistic.
It was not even altruistic, I don't think. It was chaotic neutral.
Okay.
It
I can
was
see that.
it was programmed to do a job, and that job was get to Jupiter, don't tell the crew about it,
Mm.
and don't tell the crew because you're capable of doing this on your own. When the crew started to find out, it had an oh shit moment and thought, the crew's not supposed to know. I can do this on my own. I'm not supposed to tell them anything. They're asking too many questions. I'm just going to kill them.
So
Because
for those that
that
don't know, and let's clarify this, Matt referenced something called chaotic neutral. So for those of you that have not played Dungeons and Dragons in your lifetime, there is a thing called alignment for Dungeons and Dragons characters, and there are two facets of your alignment. One of them is you are either lawful or neutral or chaotic. So this is a
Okay.
3 lever score on one element of your alignment. So you are either lawful, neutral, or chaotic. And then the other element is also a three-pronged score, which is if you are good, neutral, or evil. So you can be the worst type of devil, which is a chaotic evil, or you could be the best kind of saint or angel, which is lawful good. You can also be lawful evil. You can also be chaotic good, or you can be neutral in any of those aspects: neutral good, neutral evil, lawful neutral, chaotic neutral, which is what Matt was referring to.
Well, it's not looking at ethics or governance or right and wrong. It's just looking at, this is what I was told to do, and I'm
Yeah.
going to do what I was told to do as best as I possibly can.
Well, okay, so
That's
on the motherly side, does would that be like a maternal entity that is going to join an already established like family that has like a mother there present? Because if anyone ever thought about saw the movie Cassandra, I think it's on Netflix, and it's this whole thing about this smart home AI uh, named Cassandra, and she uh, basically is, I don't know, she goes into a home and she does all the typical chores. She takes care of all the kids. She cooks. She does all of the, the laundry for it. But she starts to develop. She can think right on her own, and she's very maternal. But
Mhm.
she starts to want to be the mother of the house, and she wants to try to push away the real human, and she wants to try to be with the dad. It's like, they're
Boy.
gonna see that, right? They're gonna see that, they're gonna think that that's their place, right? Because that's what they deserve, and that's what they're trying to protect, and then I get now they're gonna wanna push out the excess.
I think
So
the
that can
instinct for maternal that is trying to be instilled in AI is more along the lines, if we're going to continue with the paradigm and the analogy of modern media and entertainment media, I think we're probably talking something a little bit more along the lines of Wall-E. Because
mm,
Wall-E was an AI that was created to take care of human beings. It just went over
yeah.
the top. It just went over the top and it went overboard, and, that's the ramification there, but I see where you're going with that, and that kind of bleeds right into Matt's theory of chaotic neutral, because that's what we're talking about, is an AI that thinks it's doing the right thing. It thinks it's
Mhm.
achieving its objective, and yet the methods whereby it reaches it are a little bit warped and twisted. HAL 9000, the same way. iRobot, the same way. Eagle Eye, the same way. There are a lot of different iterations of artificial intelligence in media that probably align with that chaotic neutral alignment. Well, I don't know. We have kind of gone everywhere on this podcast, and it is no longer sunny in Chicago, as you can see from Alex's video there. For those of you that are watching versus listening, the sun has
That's
now
true.
set in Chicago,
It
and
has.
she is talking to us and basked in the glow of her screen. Let's let's kind of take this far and wide-reaching and crazy conversation, and let's bring it back to the cybersecurity realm a little bit. And I think it would be good to lean a little bit on your cybersecurity expertise, Alex, and ask a question here, which is, if there's one thing that leaders can do this year to build real AI credibility and not just buy more quote unquote AI tools, what do you think that would be?
I think it's damn, that's a hard one. Probably properly training, like real, maybe MIT types of courses for the employees, so that we're instilling a culture of sober AI, different ways that you can use AI in your tech stack, maybe have some initiatives that show how, different ways that they can improve their day-to-day tasks with AI. I think that if that starts from the top down, that creating things like hackathons that can show uh, bring teams together to create cool use cases within their departments, within their specific, lines of businesses on a particular task that they're up against. I think those kind of things will really instill a culture of a positive culture that is into AI, and get people working together on it, get people verbally kind of in the lingo of it as well. I think we're way beyond that point if you're like the big corporations of the world, but it hasn't trickled that down if you're like in the midsize or in the startup landscape.
So, in essence, you're basically saying a very, very massive focus on skills development.
Yes, massive focus on skills development.
Okay. Matt, your thoughts?
I actually completely agree. So, in the rare moment where Siskel and Ebert both are giving two thumbs up, and that's a tribute to Chicago as well, Alex, for you. Um, I fully agree with that. I think that skills development is everything. It's just maybe different direction on the skills,
Mhm.
right? Because before it was who is the best at filtering the giant pile of mud to find the rocks that might be gold nuggets. Now it's who's the best at instructing the generative AI to help you do that to even bigger amounts of dirt at a time, 24 hours a day. The people who can make the systems do those incredible things that they're capable of both exhibit critical thinking and an ability to adapt and work with the newer technologies. And those are the people, just like Jensen Huang said earlier this year, those are the ones that are not going to have to worry about jobs. But I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna line up in that too because, it's interesting, Alex, we were talking about the skills and you were talking about some of those skills that are most important and you actually mentioned one of the ones and Matt and I had a
Which
little note that, a video for those of you that were watching on video you may have noticed, but um yeah, the 5 C's are the 5 skills that am a big proponent of and Matt likes to refer to the 5 C's by talking about the Adriatic and all of these other different C's like SEAS, but I'm talking about the letter C. I'm talking about these 5 C skills that I have been using as a little bit of uh, let's call it a preacher subject. I'm standing on my soapbox and I'm screaming that these are the skills that people should start developing. And we've already talked about the one, which is the one that I usually try and use as the big impact at the end, which is critical thinking. But there are 5 others, one of which is communication, which you
mm,
did talk about, which is so very important, not only communicating between human beings, but also being able to effectively communicate with AI. And we're talking about
mm,
prompt engineering and other things to try and make sure that you're getting out of
right.
AI what it is that you need to get out of it. And the other is collaboration. So collaborating, just because you can communicate doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to work effectively together. You've got to be able to work as a team. Now that whether this is task assignment, whether this is an ability to manage each other's skills and make sure that people are doing the right thing, and making sure that you're all working on things that are going to bring some sort of a complementary cohesiveness to the objective of the team, you know, this collaboration element is very important. And then the other two are creativity and curiosity. And I don't think you need to explain either of those as it relates to working with technology and artificial intelligence.
On the note of collaboration, I'll add a little short blurb on it. I've written about working with your team members that are introverts and extroverts, and just once you figure out who you are or once you figure out how they work, it becomes much easier to work with your colleagues. I've it's something that it took me a long time to learn. I used to think that because people weren't as on as me or as excited about the things I was excited about, it would really affect, like, my energy. But sometimes when you're working with your introverted colleagues, they see the world differently. Their world is internally, and it's just as big as yours. And they just sometimes what you should do to bring them into the conversation is ask them questions or take talk to them on Slack often, maybe not put them on the spot so much. That is really a practice I've had to perfect over the years, especially working with when you're the only extrovert and all your team is introverts. That can be that can be the biggest test.
Alex, you would say you're an extrovert?
What do you think?
Quite possibly. You're dealing with a couple of extroverted introverts here. So
Yeah,
that's, yeah,
it is about how you recharge. So I used to think I was an introvert too because I like to go and I wind down, but no, I don't. I get my energy from other people.
interesting.
Yeah.
Matt, anything else to add there?
No, I would agree that we are extroverted introverts. I'll say that, but yeah, I mean, I think that this has been it's been a validation. I think what's really neat, Jason, is that you and I have not really had somebody from security in
Mm-hmm.
to talk, and a lot of the answers could be very similar across all the different units. And security is in particular an interesting one because it's so vitally important, especially when you have, DDoS botnets sending 15 to 17 terabytes of data
Mm.
to an access point in Australia, in a period of minutes. Um, but the problem statements are the same. The upside is the same. The PDOM scores are unchanged. Like it's so fascinating how equalizing the whole topic of AI is. And it was a great conversation, and it was a very interesting validation for me. So
I agree. And yeah, it's interesting because based on your business focus, things could seem like they're going to change. But the more you talk about it, the more everything looks like it's the same. PDOM scores, however, in the cybersecurity space do tend to be a little bit higher. I will say that those that know a little bit about how things can be wrecked are a little bit more prone to believe that it will be wrecked. I
Yeah.
think,
Highly skeptic folks in this industry.
yeah,
yeah,
but that's a bias issue. That's
that's
not a
true.
reality issue.
Very much a bias issue for sure. Well, both of you, thank you so much for the time today. This has probably been the most eclectic of the episodes that we have taped as it relates to conversation going in so many different directions. Alex, I hope that you will join us again sometime in the future. Would you be open to that?
I would be open to that. Thank you
Oh,
so much for having me. You guys
you
got
bet.
me an hour closer to seeing Wicked tonight.
Oh, hey, that'll be fun. And Matt, as always, you are an absolute stud, and I appreciate your time and effort and being here and contributing to this conversation. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's always great to do this. Great conversations.